right, so, very important, our presenters today. So in the middle chair is Hildegard. Hildegard is a resident here, and she is the chair of the Residents' Council. Nadine is the director of Human Resources, and Jean is the CEO. And together, you're going to see why these three people together have the core of the message that we're sending you today. So I would love all of you to introduce yourselves. So Hildegard, would you like to go first?
I'm Hildegard Gray, and I was born in New Jersey and then ended up living all over the place, a lot of times in Europe, and ended up in Atlanta, Georgia. And my children ended up in Brooklyn. And so a couple of years after we retired, we started looking for retirement places. Ended up here 3.5, almost 4 years ago now. And never looked back. It was tough moving from Georgia, I have to say. But, you know, I think for most of you, when you're moving, you're coming from somewhere in the area. So you still have your local contacts, your friends, your church, your organizations. That was a little tough, I have to say. But I am very happy to be here and love living here.
My name is Nadine. The focus of my work here is people. And I like to think that I take care of people and am a role model for our culture, our workplace. My background is in HR, but before HR, I worked in the travel industry, was lucky enough to see a lot of the world and experience different cultures. I've lived in Europe for a while, and I was a language major, so I speak many languages, three foreign languages. And so I came to Kendal really after the pandemic. When Kendal opened, I was in town. I was born in Tarrytown, lived other places, and came back. And I always thought to myself, this is a place I'd like to work later in my career, and that wish came true. So 3 years ago, I joined Kendal. I've really basically worked only for for-profit organizations, so this was a brand new experience for me, and one that is very, very meaningful because of our mission and because of the people here. So it's wonderful to see you all, and I look forward, hopefully, to seeing you again and sharing a little bit about what we do in human resources and answer any questions you have.
Good morning, everyone. Happy almost Thanksgiving as we're getting ready for our Friendsgiving marketing event today. It's so nice to see all of you. So I have, my name is Jean Eccleston. I am a CPA by training, and I grew up in New Jersey. But I was living in Florida for a long time and then have come back. I love being back up north and experiencing all the seasons. I've been doing senior living for over 25 years now, and I just love it. The first time I walked onto a community campus, I just felt at home, and it was the right place for me. And 25 years later, I still feel at home, and I love seeing people, and I love meeting all of you and hearing your stories, and really just building community, because I think that's what makes it working together, building relationships. So we'll talk more about that. I can't wait to share some stories with you that we've experienced here at Kendal on Hudson.
It's important to understand that Kendal on Hudson is a life plan community with a continuum of care. There's many different forms of senior living today, a lot more choices, and you really need to do your due diligence to find out what the community you're looking at is all about. Here, I think we have several very unique characteristics. A life plan community, offers you a wonderful lifestyle and then the continuum of care if you ever need it. It's a plan. It's a plan that is in the form of a contract that sits in your drawer and until you need it, until you need any special assistance, but it offers a lot of benefits. So there's a lot of moving parts to what makes a community whole. And Kendal, the one thing behind Kendal, and we don't talk enough about, that exists, it exists very deeply here, but we don't talk enough about it, is the values and practices that comes from the Quaker philosophy. And the reason why we have a resident, human resources, and our CEO together is because it resonates through the people that work here to the people that live here. And I think that that is a very, very important aspect of building a community and of having a caring community. The values that are so essential are education, sustainability, stewardship, community. Those are things that we focus on and have tremendous meaning to what Kendal stands for. It's more than what, and I always say this, it's more than just the color of the paint on the walls. It's the people that live here, and it is the energy of the community, the energy, it resonates. And it just lends itself to be comforting. One thing, and I'm gonna steal just a tiny bit of your thunder, Hildegard. One thing that impressed me is that we have this thing called the co-pilots program. And there's 222 apartments. About 65 apartments have couples. So a third of the apartments are couples, the other 2/3 are single people. So imagine if you don't feel good in the middle of the night and you need some medical attention. There are residents who volunteer on schedules that run 24 hours to accompany any resident to an emergency room or clinic visit in those circumstances so they're not alone. You know, how that is what these values and practices are. This is not a Kendal initiative.
I'm on today.
Oh, you're on today? Okay. All right, if I see you get up and go, I know you have a call.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is what our values and practices are. And it's not a Kendal initiative. It's a Kendal on Hudson initiative. It's very strong here. So with that said, let's get a little deeper into the weeds, what I'm so excited to share with you. So we're going to start with Hildegard. So Hildegard, you are a Quaker, right? Please share with us what that is, a little deeper of what that is, and how that relates to community, and why it drew you here.
That's a big topic. So yes, I am Quaker. I was actually born Quaker, which is really unusual. My mother was Quaker. And I had the good fortune to go to a Quaker school in Washington, D.C., Sidwell Friends, for a couple of years. And I really loved the philosophy there. I loved how they treated each other and the community that it built. And many years later, as an adult, I saw an ad in some magazine, probably the New Yorker, for Kendal retirement communities that were Quaker. And I thought, oh my God, so it's kind of bookends your life, in education and then when you retire. So I had looked into the Kendal communities and had decided, way before I was ready to sign on the dotted line on the contract here, that if I ever moved to a retirement community, it would be a Kendal. And, that's where I would go. And so then I was just delighted to find that there was one in New York, and I guess the rest is history. But I think you're all getting a copy of this today, hopefully. And I hope you take some time to read it, because there's an interesting story behind how the Kendal retirement communities were started, and through the Arch Street meeting in Philadelphia. And why they were started, and the sense that they were going to reinvent aging. And think about that. I mean, how do you reinvent aging? When you're 40, you look at aging as like, oh my God, But I truly think they have. I really think by stating the values, and that's page 3 and 4. There will be a test when you leave. I think it's about 14, 15 values, and they can govern how we live, how the staff is treated. It's really important, and I think these are living values, and I certainly on the council have tried to make them living values, so that this doesn't sit on everyone's bookshelf and gather dust, but rather that we really live these values and see what's important.
So here at Kendal, we do not have an activities director, but yet we have 39 different programs that take place. And that's because it's resident-initiated, resident-driven. So it is connected to the values and practices, because all of this programming falls under education, sustainability, community. But there's also a wonderful guide to decision-making. And we handed out what we call the pillars. It's on a sheet of paper. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So I think if you had these, there's basically 5 types of decision-making. So, and I think this is really important to understand. The residents are entirely responsible for developing a program and making the decisions. And there are certain types of decisions where we can provide some input. We can be on committees. We can decide what we think would be best, and we can provide that input. But the decision might be made by Jean, or it might be made by someone in finance. And then there are other decisions we have nothing to do with. Those are particularly Nadine's decisions. We don't specify what the salaries are for somebody, or who gets hired or who gets fired. We hope that never happens, but So if you think about it, the resident life, everything that is our social life, that is our the values, for example, of lifelong learning, those are managed by 29 committees, and I can't even count how many interest groups that really focus on how we entertain ourselves. So we have everything from committees that work on they have dances and 4th of July and a fabulous New Year's Eve event, to an education committee that provides a Monday night program, a monthly 3, 4, 5 week program, a course every month, and the Great Decisions program that is done in the beginning of the year, the first 4 or 5 months of the year. We have concerts on Sundays. We have a music committee that provides those, that brings in the people who entertain us with their concerts. We have the co-pilots group that you already mentioned, and Philip is our chief calendar maker and organizer of that. And I want to stress on the co-pilots, that was started by residents. That was not started by the administration or by Phelps Hospital. It was a resident-driven program. Those types of things, we really have pretty much full say on how we do it, when we do it. Kendal on Hudson has a board. There are 3 residents who are members of that board, full-fledged members. They are voting members of the board. To me, I mean, I think this is all written up in the document, but I think this is extraordinary. The kind of say we have, the kind of input we can have on decisions, from what program is done on Monday night to how the independent living healthcare situation is going to be handled. So and we're always trying to be very clear on where we have 100%, we make all the decisions, and where we provide input and try to influence, but then step back and say, okay, this is somebody else's decision. We've provided our input, we've done the best we can, and now go forward with it. So.
I know of communities where you have no say as to what the artwork is on the hallways. Here we have a committee that makes that has that say and that decision. And why is this so important? It's important because it's your home. This is where you live, and you should have those decisions. You should have that type of interaction with where you live. And I really think that because of the power of the values and practices, we're able to get 300 people to discuss it and come to a conclusion at some point. And sometimes it's not always easy, but it's needed because you have a voice, and you should have a voice. And that's what really, I think, stands out so much about Kendal. So now we've had a resident's perspective, and please know that you do not have to be a Quaker to move to Kendal, okay? We have all sorts of religious denominations here, and we have services for all sorts of religious denominations. But it is a philosophy, and that's what drives our values. So now I'd like to talk to Nadine about the staff, okay? You can't just have half of the community on one set of values and not have the staff on those same values. So Nadine, explain a little bit more about how this resonates with human resources.
When I started out working many years ago, HR was called personnel, and it was largely focused on administrative tasks, handing out forms to employees, organizing payroll. What has happened through the years is the culture and the people aspect of human resources has taken center stage, because we've realized as the years go on that people really need to feel valued and thrive in a workplace where they feel their needs are met, where they feel that they're important to the mission. And so this has happened here at Kendal as well. And my team is new in HR, and we have really been tasked with creating a culture that is guided by our values. They're our compass to daily life. And our values influence really every decision we make about people, from the people we hire, from the people we work with every day, from the people that we come in contact. Our culture influences our policies, how we roll out programs, and how we invest in the people who work here. And I'd say at probably the most important value that I see every single day here is community, the sense of community. We all feel like we have a meaningful role to play in this community. And that is very unique in organizations, the fact that everyone feels connected to the purpose of the mission, to the Jean's vision, to what we're trying to do to support our residents. I had many opportunities to gain insight into how employees think about where they work. And one of the things that have struck me in a very positive way is over and over again, employees say they're happy with their work because of who they support. And that's all of you, the residents. Because we work in your home, it creates a real connection of trust and respect, mutual respect, that shows up in our enthusiasm for what we do and in our relationships. We're really a very relationship-based culture. One of the things we were really focusing on this year is engagement and creating a work environment where people want to stay, they want to do their best, they want to be their best selves. And that's not always easy to achieve because people have different values, right? But when we look to hire our staff, we not only hire for skill, but we hire for cultural fit. And it's important to us to find people who have a great deal of respect for others, who have a service heart, and who like to give, right? And those things, sometimes we don't get it right, but most times we get it right. And that also creates the sense of belonging here. We're like-minded, and we value the same things. So let me show you here. One of the things that we've done this year in Human Resources is link monthly learnings to our values and practices. And we decided every month we would have a theme and something new to give to employees in terms of learning, right? And this was in August. We did a Snack and Learn, and we focused on our values here at Kendal, how you can practice kindness at work, which is one of our values, and living into our spices, which are our values as well, being thoughtful, peaceful, choosing empathy, showing integrity in our work, supporting others in community, and valuing everyone in equality, and of course stewardship, which cares for others outside of our environment, outside of our workplace. So anyway, we did this in Spanish and in English, and we put together a little gift package with a message about how kindness is part of our daily life here at Kendal. And it was a big hit. We gave little gifts out inside of this and candy. We like candy a lot here in Kendal. It shows up a lot in what we do. And in September, we did a fall into wellness and community. Again, we had some fun facts to share for everyone to learn new fun facts. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. And again, we provided little goodies for people. And this is a connecting point. We went around to employees personally and handed this out. And the feedback we got from doing something this simple was really encouraging, because in our busy workday lives, we made the time to connect with our people, which was meaningful. And in fact, we also do it based on feedback from our residents, because every month we get shout outs from our residents praising our employees or giving positive feedback. And that's a wonderful thing. We share it with the employee, we share your feedback with their managers, and we also provide a little goodie basket stand for our people where we make them understand that they make a difference in everyone's lives here. So these little tokens, these little gestures of connection help to reinforce the community that we are trying to build, and the workplace we foster here that values community and collaboration. Collaboration also shows up in how we work together, make decisions. Leadership team here, we make decisions with consensus building. Everyone shares their perspective, so everyone gets a piece of the decision, and then decisions are made together. And that's unusual for many leadership teams. Usually, it's driven by one person. Decisions are driven by one person, but here they're driven as a group by consensus. And everyone's perspective is considered, which again is pretty unique in the working world. One of the other things we've done for employees is we've created a monthly update to have another connecting point with our people, and we've shared what the Snack and Learn is for the month. We share activities. This month, we launched an HR internship program, which gave an opportunity for people in other departments to come learn about HR and help us with our projects. And we have 2 people from other departments right now currently helping us prepare for this very, very busy quarter that we have coming up. And it's been a wonderful learning experience for them and a win-win for us as well, because we have something valuable to share with them, and they have something valuable to learn, and we help each other. We also work closely with the residents. We have a Spanish professor here who retired long ago, but who works with our employees to give lessons, Spanish lessons, English lessons once a week, so that our employees, again, can come together and everyone could feel included in what we do. Our updates, our company announcements are in Spanish and English because a large part of our population speaks Spanish first. So English is a second language to many, and in order to make people feel included, again, to build that community, to reinforce that value, we make a very, very deliberate attempt to translate everything that we give out, every announcement, every important enrollment announcement in Spanish as well, not just English. And sometimes we conduct our meetings in Spanish with the Spanish speakers. We're lucky in HR to have 3 Spanish speakers on staff, and it's helped us enormously unite people who sometimes don't feel valued in an English-speaking community. So those are some of the ways day to day here. This is our open enrollment form for our upcoming benefits. Again, we create a bulletin. We place it all over, and we have it in English and in Spanish, another connecting point. I think I went on and on. I'm sorry if I did. But basically, that's, we live these values. And when we're in meetings for conflict resolution, when we're rolling out a new program, that's our guiding star.
And it's so true that people mirror what they see. So when they see leadership behaving in a certain way, that's a message that this is what we expect. And I always say, and it's like a spinning wheel. Happy residents create employee retention too. Mm-hmm. So, right?
And give meaning to our work.
Exactly.
And happy employees mean positive outcomes for all of us.
All of us, exactly. So we're all connected. We're all connected. And that's why, under the guidance of Jean now, we've had a very strong move towards spreading the values and practices in more meaningful ways so that it's clearly understood. And if you look at our YouTube channel, there is a gentleman who is a cook. His name is Stephen. He has a service dog called Kaya, and we just did a video on her. Stephen comes in here on his day off, and he will visit residents in assisted living and skilled nursing. I could cry, with Kaya. And she's a Rottweiler. The first time I saw her, I go, is he crazy? I mean, she is the gentlest, but you know what's great about her is you can wrap your arms around her. She's got that big head, and she loves it. So that speaks volumes to who the staff are, right? So now, Jean, it's all to you now to bring us all together here. How do you ensure that we're meeting this mission of reaching our values and practices?
Well, that's also a very big question, and I'm going to diverge a little bit, but I'll get there. And, I started my career in senior living in a CCRC in Florida, and I was there for 16 years as the CFO. And I used to say, and I kind of bragged about it, that I was the only CFO I knew who got hugged every day at work. And it was true. So then, I moved here to New York, and I mentioned the hugging, and I don't get as many hugs here, but I get some. And I think it's a funny way to demonstrate the relationships that we build between staff and residents, and how meaningful they are to us, and also I think to the residents. So if there are huggy people out there, you know where to find me, or you will know where to find me.
And she gives the best hugs.
So I did want to share that. It's an interesting question because it's actually hard work to keep culture every day, present every day, and it's so important to who we are. And there's probably, when I think about it, every day in little ways we're practicing our values and practices. And just a few examples related to employees. We focus on the spices. Does everybody know what the spices are? Okay, if you're gonna indulge me, I brought my cheat sheet so I wouldn't forget. It's a Quaker term that is very simple to help you remember what the values are. So the first value, S, is simplicity. The second P is peace. The I is for integrity. The C is for community, which we've been talking a lot about today. E is for equality. And S is for sustainability. And, when we're working with employees, those are great. It's a great, simple way to reinforce the values that we're expecting people to demonstrate at work. We talk about it, there's a new employee orientation held every month. So we really focus on these spices and how do you make them live at your job. And so we kind of personalize it. This is my favorite part about new resident orientation. I get to say to the new wait staff, how do you demonstrate integrity in your job? And we talk about that. Or to the new housekeeper, how do you demonstrate peace, in your day-to-day work? So we really do talk about the values in, I think, a meaningful way and an interactive way with our employees. We try to reinforce that. Nadine shared the newsletter that's being done. So we're starting to have a little blurb about each one. Every month we pick one of the spices, and we talk about that and how does that live at work, and also in your life. I think that's an important way to think about it as well. I think one of the things from a resident perspective, I love a resident committee. We do a lot of sort of shared discussions. If you go back to the decision-making pillars, I feel like I live in that third pillar a lot. I spend a lot of time there where we are talking about decisions that impact resident lives, and we have resident input into those decisions. We really make a lot of them together. Hildegard's on a lot of committees with me. When the Commons Refresh Project is a great example, there were a lot of focus groups and a lot of time spent over the last few years looking at what were the needs currently and in the future, a lot of resident input. And then we have what we call our project team, and that project team is 4 staff people and 3 residents, one of whom is Hildegard. And that team has been working, diligently hours and hours on the project. And from my perspective as the CEO, it's invaluable to have your perspective, Hildegard, and to have the perspective of residents, because I don't live here, although sometimes I think I do. But, I need to know what residents are thinking and what they need. So we do that in this way where we're getting a lot of direct feedback, and the residents are on the committees. So we do multiple committees like that, and I think that's very powerful in building the community, and that focusing on community as a value, where we're actually working together to make decisions. I will tell you, we're not always perfect. We don't always get it right, but we're always striving towards those values, and I think that's really important. Do you want me to keep going?
I do.
No.
Go ahead.
So, I think I've been at 2 continuing care, retirement, life plan communities, and there's an expression in our industry. It says, if you've been to one life plan community, you've been to one life plan community, because they are all very, very different. And I feel here at Kendal and Hudson, this belonging as an employee, where I'm welcome in your life, and in the resident home. I am part of everyday decision making, and I was the CFO here for I think 6 years before I became the CEO. So I have had now 2 different perspectives. And I just want to say, it's important. Lois mentioned doing your due diligence. It's really critical because every community is different, and every community has a different vibe and a different feel. And then, of course, every community has a different campus and a location. But I think the key is really, if you're going to be living here for the rest of your life, you want to live in a place that you are comfortable, where you know that, I'm going to be on a committee with Hildegard, and we're going to do some co-pilot work, and I'm going to sign up for that. Those are the things that I think make Kendal and Hudson very special.
One thing also I wanted to mention is that when we have meetings are opened up with a moment of silence. So it's like we clear our minds so that we're all in the same energy together, right? And we can have clear thought, which I really enjoy, doing that.
I'll add another thing. When I first interviewed for the job of the CFO, and I spoke with the CEO who was there at the time, she explained Quakerism to me in a way that really resonated. I don't know if it's 100% accurate, but this is what she explained, that the light of God is in me, and the same light of God is in you. So why would we even consider treating each other differently? And that just resonated with me. And I still remember it. That was almost 8 years ago. But I still, to this day, remember thinking, I want to work for a place that believes that. And that was really that. And the moments of silence, I spend my life in meetings. And to have that little bit of downtime where you can just sort of gather your thoughts and think and really focus on what you're trying to accomplish is invaluable. It's so beneficial.
Absolutely. So I want to now kind of move on to the fact that we've been open 20 years. And why does this sound like breaking news? And that's because a community is generational. With every new resident that moves in, different generations are moving in. And we have to keep spreading this message. We have to keep talking about our values and practices so that it continues. And I wrote something down that you said, Hildegard. We all contribute to make sure it continues. And I think we've been pretty good at that for 20 years. And now we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary. And when you folks move in, you're going to want to know that we're going to be here another 20 or 30 years. And this is what we're about, and this is what we want to continue. And we want residents to move here who have that same feeling, who have that same desire to see this type of lifestyle continue. And that's what makes Kendal on Hudson very different. So we're engaged right now in a $33 million renovation project. And I have to give a lot of kudos to Jean. For a long time, we were, I would say certified. You can correct me anytime I make a mistake, Jean, but a CARF, CARF. So that's been like a staple for a lot of retirement communities, that when you're have a stamp of approval from CARF, you're financially sound. Well, that's kindergarten, okay? We went with the big boys. We went with Fitch. Actually, Jean went with Fitch. Now, Fitch is a rating company where you have to apply to be rated. And the very first time that our application went in, we received a triple B plus, which puts us in the top 6% in the nation. That enabled Kendal to refinance their bonds, right? Get a very low interest bond for the renovation, which didn't put burdens on the residents. So that's how you get things done, okay? And then,
Lois, I am very impressed with the fact that you were able to say that. That was very good.
yeah, because you guys have to know that. You have to know that who's driving the bus, that's doing a great job. And the other thing, though, is now when you got involved in this renovation project, okay, we had a whole group of residents picking out chairs. Now, if you think that was easy, all right, there were so many chairs. I said, we only should have had 2. It would have made it much easier, right? But that's what goes into a renovation like this, and you're going to see some of it. You're going to see as we go into the formal dining room, walls that are going up and changes that are happening. And if you've ever remodeled your kitchen, right, you know that it's stressful. And we understand that this could be stressful for our residents, and we want to make it as easy as possible. So it's going through in phases, a section at a time, so that we don't create too much disturbance at once. But the end result is necessary, because you must stay relevant to all generations and to future generations. And when you see a community that makes major investments to keeping their property relevant, okay, with the needs of baby boomers and then the next generation, you know that that is a community that has long-term plans to be here. So it's important to do that. And you spend a lot of money moving here, and you want to know that your money is secure. And that's how we help to make sure that your money is secure, that we continue to keep our 95, 96% occupancy rate. So those things are all vital. And the residents are a wonderful, wonderful group of people that, through 2 years, 3 years of planning, right? And then some.
We actually started talking about the renovation in 2018 when I first got here.
Okay, all right, longer than that. But we had focus groups. We had all kinds of study groups. I mean, it all starts, with very basic things. But what was the underlying driving factor? Was the values and practices. That's what brought us through it. And that's what brings us through the process. So for that reason, When I was talking with my team and with our marketing firm, Sage Age, we look to make these events for people to inform you of educational matters, of lifestyle matters, and we never really focus that much on our values and practices. And I hope you agree with me today that we have given you a very strong message today of why we're different and what makes Kendal special and strong. And that's what I wanted for you. That's what I want for you to take home with you today. And then we can talk about everything else. We can talk about finances. We can talk about apartments. We can talk about everything.
Lois,
That's
can
what we
I
want.
can I share something?
Please.
So maybe this is because I originally came into senior living from the finance side of things, but this kind of goes to the integrity that we as an organization maintain with residents and the transparency. Next week, we're going to have a budget presentation that we do for our residents, where we explain all of the different aspects of the budget, all of the things that go into the budget that are considered, why the monthly fee increase is coming, why it is the amount that it is. We share so much detail, and then we give an update, a financial update of where we are today and how strong we are and how we're keeping that going. And it's just an example. We do the same thing with the audit presentation. It's an example of like how this organization really values transparency and integrity in the financial health of the organization, which when everything comes down to it, that's your peace of mind. Your peace of mind comes knowing that the financial health of Kendal and Hudson is strong, and therefore the odds and the reality of us being here in 20 or 30 years when you need us is more likely because of the way that we do operations and the way we are transparent. So that's, peace of mind. If I were moving into a community, those would be the questions that I would ask. And that's how we kind of answer that question for people. And we do it routinely. We do 2 presentations financially every year for residents so that they know exactly how things are going. And there's also a committee of residents that we share our financial information with. It's called the Resident Budget Advisory Committee. And again, it goes to the values that we demonstrate on a daily basis of making sure that people are informed and that we are transparent.
So now that you're all excited, okay, about Kendal on Hudson, how do you become a resident? Well, it all starts with joining the wait list. And we do have quite a few waitlist members here today. And I'd like to just survey the waitlist members. Did you find today's discussion valuable? Is it something new? Yeah, right? Yeah. I think so too. I think we did well today. The other thing is today, because we are a life plan community, we offer what's called a Type A contract, and it's it doesn't mean it's the best. It's a Type A, meaning that whatever you're paying to live in your apartment, whatever your monthly service fee is at the time, should you need any continuing care, long-term care, you don't get an increase. So you have predictable costs. The biggest predator of people's money is long-term care. And there's no way, the way healthcare is going now, that you can predict if you will have enough money for your retirement. What is your retirement going to cost you? But here we can answer those questions because we offer this Type A contract. We know what your retirement will cost you. We have a nice little system, and I can work with you on Zoom, and we can answer those questions. The other thing is there's potential tax benefits from the day you move in. So, and as Jean said, then there's peace of mind. So other communities can offer Type A, but there's also the Type C contract, which means that you pay market rates for your long-term care when that happens. You don't know going into it what your long-term care is going to cost you. And if you have long-term care insurance here at Kendal, it blends very nicely, and I can show you how that happens. But we are the only life plan community in Westchester County. So this is a hot spot for that. And I always say that your contract is a strong financial tool because you have financial advisors, you have estate attorneys that you work with to develop documents, to create a savings and retirement plans. And when that's all said and done, what do you do with it? When you bring it to a life plan community, you have now solidified a very strong financial future for yourself. So with that said, I say, don't wait too long to come to Kendal on Hudson. You're not saving money staying at home. We are in a state where people are living longer. We have someone here who's 106. It's amazing. So because we are a life...
And he's in independent living.
And he's in independent living. Yeah, he goes to the gym every day.
He does.
Yeah, so not to make us jealous, but he goes to the gym. But so what happens is when you engage with a Type A contract, it is considered an insurance policy. And that's why we're regulated by the Department of Finance as well as the Department of Health. And when people come to apply for residency, there's a financial and a medical application. And the medical application is reviewed the same as any underwriter would review if you were applying for life insurance, long-term care insurance, health insurance. So progressive diagnoses would deem you ineligible. So that's why, and the reason is we only have so much space in skilled nursing, memory care, assisted living. And if people are moving in with diagnoses that would require long-term care in a very short period of time, we are putting a lot of stress on those areas of the community. Because our promise to people that move here is that you're coming in without progressive diagnoses, and should they develop, we are here to take care of you. So we have this very delicate balance, and there's a whole team that keeps monitoring this, so we know we have enough room for everybody. But my message can't be stronger that there is a time element that you should consider. You know, you don't wait till there's a problem, because then it's too late. So I hope that you've enjoyed everything you've heard here. And now we'd love to have some questions. Anybody have any questions for us?
My question is, the resident life sector here, what is the suggested contribution amount for the annual appeal? And it doesn't say exactly. You did explain what you're doing, but it sounds very good. Thank you.
Do we have to do an annual appeal to supplement the budget? Is that
What?
or a deficit? So, yeah. So Kendal on Hudson does not have to do an annual appeal to supplement the budget.
Twice a year, we do a staff appreciation fund. So as many of you probably know, we don't tip people here. And you know, there's absolutely no tipping or any gifting to employees. So twice a year, once in the summer and once right before the holidays, we are able to ask the residents to provide some money so that we can give that back to the employees. Every employee who's been here for 6 months, I think. Yeah. It will receive some funding, and I think it's appreciated, and we like doing that as well. And then the last one is the philanthropy committee, which is run by the board, so the Kendal on Hudson board. And let me back up one. A portion of the money we raise for the Residents Council, the Residents Association, a pretty sizable portion actually. It's almost 30% goes right out to the community. So it goes to local organizations. And guess what? We have a committee that decides on that. And they get applications from the local Sleepy Hollow, Terrytown, Pleasantville organizations asking for money, and then they decide how much of that they will give. It's $30,000 last year is what we gave to them. And the philanthropy, it's actually like a foundation, I think I would call it. So again, once a year, the board runs that one, and they bring in money from not just residents, but from the employees, from the board members, from vendors. So they bring in money, which goes all back into the community, either the Kendal and Hudson community or to the local nonprofits in the area. And when I say Kendal and Hudson, it's the extras. So, for example, they provide the art that is done in assisted living, the art classes that are done there. They fund all of our exercise classes, and I'm a big fan of Pilates and yoga, so I'm most appreciative of that. So again, the money goes back to the community.
I'll add one more thing. In that philanthropy drive, there's employee scholarships and an employee emergency fund as well, which is very beneficial. And then there's something called the benevolence fund, and that is for residents who run out of money. So it is possible, right, that a resident might run out of money, and we here at Kendal and Hudson really promise to never kick someone out because they don't have money. There's some rules, right? You can't give it to your children, you can't gamble it away, but as outside of those things, I'll share a story. I had a resident in Florida where I came from who was 107, and she just, she kept saying, well, I didn't expect to live this long. And, we just took care of her. So the benevolence fund that we have here at Kendal and Hudson is intended to do the same thing, and it is funded through resident donations. So it's residents, this is a theme, residents taking care of residents, and this is just another way that happens.
The same with employees. We have many employees who take advantage of the scholarship program and who learn new skills. And sorry, can you hear me now? Closer?
You're down at the kiss.
Okay, sorry. We have many employees who have benefited from this generous scholarship program and have moved onward and upward within Kendal and taken on new roles. So it's greatly appreciated. And it's really an investment in our people. And it's been very, very successful. And we're all very grateful for it.
One of the funds was used for providing extras like classes. So if you didn't have an appeal, there wouldn't be someone teaching classes? Is that the answer?
That was the philanthropy. I think it was the philanthropy committee. Yes, and they're providing the art classes in, special art classes in the assisted living.
Good.
So the question is, I'll just repeat the question if that's okay. The question is, if we didn't have the annual appeal for the extras, would we then not have those extras? In the old days, especially like the Pilates and the yoga and all of the exercise classes, residents paid a fee to go to those. So a resident funded them. They gave a lot of money to do that, and it no longer became a fee. So if it's not a fee that a user pays, it doesn't mean we don't do the program, but it means that it probably gets included in the monthly service fee, which increases the monthly service fee. It's always a balance of, there's so much in the monthly service fee and not everybody uses those services. The pool is a great example. The pool, we have to have it. It's very expensive, but only about 25, 35 people use it. So you all pay for that, right? So it's always that balance of user fee versus including a monthly service fee. The nice part is the residents have had so much input on the the classes and the types of classes that are offered, it feels like it's the right balance for Kendal and Hudson. Everybody does it different, but that's how we're doing it here. I hope that helps.
So why are we doing that if we might need it in the fund for people who run out of money?
The question is, so Kendal and Hudson, the resident association is doing an annual appeal, and a portion of that is given to the local community as donations, right, for their organization. Some of it goes to, oh God, I'm not going to remember all of them, but some of them goes to the ambulance company, some goes to the fire, some goes to Open Door. So there's a whole listing of recipients. I think there's two reasons for that. The first reason is that the community believes in charity. You know, they believe in giving out back to the greater community. And that was inherent in the way that the resident association was established. It's right in their bylaws, I believe. So back 20 plus years ago, when all of this started, that was a strong belief of the residents who founded the community, and it's continued. That's one answer. And then the second answer is the Resident Association is a not-for-profit organization. Kendal and Hudson is a not-for-profit organization. As such, we have obligations to give to the community. That is inherent in that tax exemption that we receive from the federal government. So I think it's both of those reasons.
Like your opposition.
Yes.
One of our values is to take responsibility in the larger community, maintaining extensive and mutually supportive relationships, and sharing our resources and experiences. And I think probably most of you volunteer in your community. I know I did in Atlanta. As we get older, that gets harder. So this is another way we can give back. And I think once a year, the organizations that we gift money to come and talk to us about it. And it feels like, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it really makes a difference in these small organizations. And it's always local. It's not for Planned Parenthood. Not that I wouldn't want to give to Planned Parenthood as well, or Sierra Club or something like that. But it's really local organizations.
I've been here now about 3 years. The first day that I came to step into my apartment, there was a lovely lady who was in the elevator with me, and I have not seen her since because I wanted to tell her how meaningful her comment was to me. She said, "I can see by your tag that you're new here. My wish for you is that you're as happy here as I've been for many, many years."
What happens here when you get sick in the middle of the night? Or what happens when you say, "I've had a sinus infection, it keeps hanging on"? Normally, I would go to a walk-in emergency place. In more serious cases, my husband would drive or call the ambulance, I'd go to the emergency room. What happens in that kind of an eventuality if you're living here?
We equip you with a life alert. We call it PET. It's either a necklace or a bracelet. If you're uncomfortable, there's a button, you hit the button, and our nurse, along with an additional person, will come and see what the problem is. If there's a need for an ambulance will be called. And that PET does work throughout the whole community. So if someone were here in the hall and didn't feel good, they could hit it, and it's like a GPS. We know exactly where you are. So that's what comes into play. So if the ambulance is called, then the front desk knows to call the co-pilot that's on, and they go in their car and meet you at the emergency room, and then they stay with you from there.
If I can add, there's also what we call a pull cord. So if you look in the back of the room, there's 2 pull cord stations. So every apartment has that. And they also in the common areas. So if you were struggling with something and you needed assistance from a nurse, you pull the cord as well. So you can either press your pet or pull the cord. So there's multiple ways for you to signal that you need emergency assistance.
There is a nurse during regular working hours. So if it's an emergency, obviously you push your pet, or your husband takes you to the emergency room. If it's not that, they can triage. We have nurses who can triage, so you can go down and say, I don't know, I've been coughing and hacking, and it's not getting any better, and it's been 12 days, and they'll probably say, you know what, you should go see your primary care physician. There are a ton of doctors right up the hill from us at Phelps, and moving from Georgia, that was one of my real concerns: is am I going to be able to find doctors and dentists and hair cutters? I mean, how important is that, right? And I had no trouble with the doctors. There's plenty of them. There's specialists. There's a couple, well, I only know mine, but I mean, there's some wonderful primary care physicians. So the nurse might say, why don't you just go make an appointment with your primary care? But I wanted to add, a real surprise to me was that we can have blood drawn for blood testing in our resident care center. So how many times have you had to fast until your doctor's appointment, then you got to drive across town and you're starving and you haven't had any coffee, right? You go down one floor and there's someone who takes your blood at, I think it starts at like 7:30 in the morning. Then you go back, walk 2 steps, go back up and have your cup of coffee. We also have a local pharmacy that does COVID and flu shots right here. So there's a lot of benefits that surprised me. I didn't expect it, as I thought we'd have to do all this on our own. So they really care for us. I mean, they can't provide emergency care. Obviously, you need to go to the hospital.
All right, are you guys hungry? It's open seating, so as you enter, just go ahead and take seats. We've got plenty of seats for everybody.